demo. I'm going to see if I think some people give me 1 second. This is too many echoes. If you have a
Muted.
If you have a reason to ask a question or something, please use the chat, and I'll recognize you, and we'll get going on that. Anyway, in this first element of the demo, I think that it's changed a little bit with these new tools as to what we would do. In the past, with microfoam, we basically, flipped out a wall like 144 with like 60 inches coming off of it, but we really never placed products on the other wall. And part of the reason for not previously doing that was the fact that microvellum just wasn't very handy for being able to position those other ways or to be able to change the reference point of the product. So I think we can show some real good strengths of IMOS or WoodCAD CAM as we're doing this, and then get really fast into the dimensioning aspect of this. You might notice for now the DWT that you were provided is just basically a layout, so there's nothing really to that. Julie's working on a new DWT for us that will really show well. It will also have multi-viewports in it, so we'll have a plan view, 2 elevations, and a section view, and that'll work out real nice. But I'll show you what you can do for today without having to go through a whole lot of those things. So I think that it will work. First question was, must you be in plan view when drawing walls? No, of course not. And you can draw from any kind of position that you want. And so that's what, if I were starting to draw now, you would see that I'm in the southwest view. So I could just start adding walls as a quick example of that. If I just clicked on the walls and just picked a point in AutoCAD, you'll see that you could start drawing in an isometric view. I do think that there is some benefit to having the DWT. I think there's some benefit to not having the DWT in a fashion so that when you automatically open it up, it's in that kind of a view. You can draw from, a plan view or whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. It can become your preference, and not everybody has to work from the same views. And so the only thing I'm going to do is just begin and just say I want to create a wall at 120, and then I'll make one at 144, and then double enter. So now we have a couple of walls ready within our system. What I've been doing, and not that I have anything magical, but I start off with showing a 2-door base cabinet and how the product is smart that if you drag it along another wall, it will automatically change its rotation just real quick. Place it, and I usually place 2 of the same, so I click the multiple button and then hit that to show that now we can go left, right, top, bottom, front, or back. And that becomes a good way to show some other examples of things that might work out really well when placing it. Then I just move on to other categories. I usually place a tall cabinet to the right-hand side of this, and then I move into the upper cabinets. Now I'll tell you, I do a little trick here that you might just want to see what I'm doing. Instead of actually trying to mess with its height and stuff, I'm just using the nearest command so that it's locating it on the wall in such a way that it gets it about the height that I want it to be. And so then I say okay to that. So that keeps me from having to do a lot of settings and go into another place to tell it distance off the floor. Then before I do anything else, I like to move on and continue opening up library elements. And so I'll go to the 2-door with the drawer cabinets. And this is a good place to show them that the orientation can change from front to back, left to right, top to bottom. And so now that makes it so much easier for being able to place a product, and again, a secondary product selection here so that we could just pick it and tell it that we want it to go from the left-hand side and be done. Because there's usually something that comes up about countertops, a lot of times I'll just go ahead and show them how easy it is to pick first and last, whatever it is, and you also have countertops in this. Now, unless somebody asks me something specific, this is typically all that I'm doing for the placement of initial products within the job. And so at this particular time, what I do is click on this new view. Everybody should have a tab that says drawing views. If you do not have a tab that says drawing views, please use the chat so that we know that we still need to do some additional work to people's systems to make that happen. So please use chat for that if you don't have it. We're basically starting, and it's nice, we're kind of working left to right a little bit, and so we'll just pick on the 2D plan view. And so once we select on it, we're literally just windowing everything that we want to capture for this. It's going to do the work for us of not only generating the plan drawing, but also changing the AutoCAD drawing view so that we would easily be able to place where we want that plan view to be relative to the 3D drawing. And so now you'll see that easily, even with Ortho on, above, below, to the left, to the right, wherever you might want this to go. I'm just going to place it out here to the right, and don't forget to read your command line for where you want to place the actual generated name for this. I like to stick it out just a little way so I know I'm not going to get any dimensioning in its way. And the next thing we'll do is create the elevation view. So we just select a cabinet on that view, and we set it so that we've got our arrow pointing towards that elevation. Again, it does take just a couple of moments for it to generate the elevations and stuff as well. And so you just got to kind of be patient and talk a little bit and zoom in and out. But once they're created, they do a really nice clean job. And so now we have that, and you want to keep it far enough away so we don't have any conflict of the actual dimensioning. Again, labeling that view as well. We'll do that one more time, and this is really the reason for making the wall go that way and placing cabinets on the second one, is just to show, because it works out really nice for the placement of this, especially when you get to the viewport side of it. It really makes for a nice demonstration. So anyway, in this case, we'll go ahead and place this elevation that we have. The next thing that I would think about doing, even though the command's way to the right, is that we're going to select on this and say Create Section. Here we'll zoom in and select the products we want part of our section. And if you read the command line, it says first point on it, second point, a point on the upper side. I have no idea why they do that, but anyway, and then I'll default and let that be A. And we're going to peel the section in this case to be working from this direction. And so we'll say OK to this, and we'll go ahead and place the section symbol. In this same command, you'll want to click on Update Selection, and that'll allow you to just pick something from that selection, hit the plus sign, and then you'll want to go select the actual wall from the 3D, not the 2D generated wall. And so now that will give us a back wall as part of this section as well. The next things that we're ready to do is to do view dimensioning. So we'll pick this elevation, this plan view, and this elevation, and then we'll move to the command section dimensioning. And so now we've done a lot of these things. By the way, if you will look at yours, if you're following along, if you can see the hidden lines for the shelves and stuff, you're probably on the right build. If you're not for sure, you can type in IMOSv11 and hit that twice, and it will tell you should be on B106, build 106. And if you're not, you won't have that within your stuff, so you needed to run the patch. It's possible some of you installing and uninstalling might have somehow gotten that not working, or the patch not put back in, so just make sure you can do that. The next area that's really new is the article and part annotation. And so if I said I wanted to annotate an article, I could select, for example, on an article, and you would see then on the command line that there's a number of things that you can do to select from this. Name of element group, construction, comments 1, 2, information block, hierarchy, position, and we're probably going to have to play with some of these, but for example, if I put a 1 in this and then hit enter, one more time. Article annotation, I want to select one of these, and I thought that I was hitting 1. Julie typed what I was supposed to hit, information block. Sorry, it's I, not 1. It was for information block, and then you just hit the default the second time. We're going to have to do a little bit of work on what it is, that we're selecting here. I guess that's not even the right one, I don't guess, but it gives you a nice feel to delete a layered object, so I can tell that I want to get rid of everything on that layer. And I'll try this article stuff one more time. I thought that it was, you want P is what she says. Oh, position number, that's what it stands for. I'm not used to that. I'm used to ID. And so if you hit P, you'll see that now all the articles have what we used to think of within microfilm. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, they're being numbered as they go across. So you just got to read that, and remember, we're just doing this a few times and we'll get better at it. Also, we have part annotation. So for example, if I selected a part within the section, now we could say what kind of information do we want. And in this case, I think it is 1, if I did this correct. Swear that I had that going. Oh, it's on here, so I just needed to hit my enter symbol again. And so I didn't read the command line. So you'll see now that it was labeling the shelves that I selected there and defined the ones that were adjustable shelves. And so I think that that's a good example. Obviously, we've got to do it more times to get better at it. The last real thing that we're working on here is, and for now until we get you the new DWT, what we'll do is we will actually go to, I saw this, load border from the output, and we'll select an NCA, for example. And so now if we zoomed into this, we'll see that we already have some viewports set for it. Again, you'll have a template that will already have tabs. You'll just be able to go to that here shortly. But for this demonstration, it's still kind of the same thing. You jump into a viewport by double-clicking inside of it, kind of zoom to where you can see what you want back in the drawing views, and say that you want to link a view, and I'm going to link this to the plan. And so now we have that. I'll zoom into this, or I'll click into this. And so here I'll say I want to link a view, and we'll tell it that we want this elevation, and we'll zoom into here and say we want to link a view, and we'll go select the actual section for this. And so now we have the section created for it as well. I'm not extremely happy yet with all the dimension styles and heights and arrows and all that kind of stuff. And so that's the way that Julie will be working on it to get it real good. So anyway, I thought after seeing this, we would try, for those especially of you that have double screen monitors, to be able to start over on this and to be able to you just work our way through generating all of this information. So what I'm going to do for the moment is just use the tool, because I don't think that there's a need at this point to actually redraw the walls and those kind of things. So I'm just using this tool to get rid of the dimensions and annotations, those kind of things. And so in just a few seconds, we'll be right back to having a wall with some products on it, and we will begin again with the things that we do. So anyway, that's all that we're starting with at this point. Oh, let me read what somebody said. We can't follow along as we cannot see the button clicks in normal demo speeds. Okay. It's going to be recorded as well. Very good point. So we can be in any view that we want here. Where we had left off before is that we were in this view, this isometric view. I guess I was actually in Southeast to get started, but it really doesn't matter what view that you're in. If you're on the Drawings tab, you will use the first button, which is 2D Plan View, and you left-click it, and you'll see in the command line it says Select Objects, and all you're going to do is window around that and hit Enter. These settings, by the way, guys, there's a lot of things that could be done individually on everybody's computer. What we're working on is getting some things working really well within a DWT file so that one file gets replaced on your system and you've got it pretty well. When this is done generating, it gives you an ability to place it. If you click the ortho off, you could throw it any place that you want on your screen. Or of course, with ortho on, you can place it above, below, right, left, whatever. We'll place it above, and then we'll set the actual text for plan view too. It does know that we've created our second one. What I did to delete these was just for the purpose of this demonstration. And so now that we have a plan view, the second button is 2D elevation view. And so what we would do in this case is select the elevation that we want to create from. I'll select this north elevation and make sure that I've got my arrow pointing in the right direction and hit you know, a left mouse button, and it's ready to go. And we'll do what Julie's suggesting on the next one. So we've made, in this case, an elevation view. And the next time that we're going to use this 2D elevation, we're going to actually select, and now we'll move this in so that it's actually cutting through the cabinet. And so we'll set it there. You can train them on different stuff. I'm just showing them what I know how to do so that they've got some way to start today. So cutting through that way gave us a different result so that it appears that we didn't get doors and some of those things, which is maybe kind of cool in some instances. If you wanted to have different elevation views, you could have them set so that they're cutting in or not cutting in. If you notice, the upper cabinet wasn't as deep as the base cabinets, and so it was showing all of those, which would be reflective of the way that it was done here as well. So that worked out good for us. Once we have our elevations created, the next thing that we click on is this section area. You'll see it labeled here. Because the last command I used was update section, that's what's current. So you click the down arrow and say create section. And this is just like we were doing in 10. We would click on the products that we want to be able to section. I'm just going to click on the wall this time to see what that would do. I haven't done that before. And I'm going to pick a lower point, an upper point, a point on the upper side, and then hit enter to accept the name that it's creating it. In this case would be B, since we'd already made those. And we'll give this a point out in space and the label for it. And so if we want to be able to get a wall with that, we're going to go back to this section, and we're going to say update section, which just means pick something in that section, and then come over here and hit the plus sign. What this is allowing you to do is to select something else that you want to add to it. If I click the plus sign, then I want to go back to my 3D model and pick that wall. And so now it's going to add that wall as part of the section. And so now we'll see that that wall exists as part of the section. We have our section symbols. We have all the names, all that kind of stuff. So you can pick what you want to start with. I just selected dimensioning the section first. Now I'm doing the elevation, the plan, and the other elevation. And so these have all been done. You can then add annotations, for example, if you want to these. For example, in the part annotation, if we click the shelf, now we'll see in our command line what it is that we're supposed to pick and select for this. I'm selecting 1, which is identification info 1. And if you notice, I have to hit enter a second time to clear my command line. If I go to the article annotation, I'm going to select one of the articles. And as Julie rightly called out, P is for position number, which tells us what was previously our item numbers. And so we have some amounts of that done. I haven't experimented with the others, but I'm sure that there's more things that could be added to it as well. Once we've done those things, we will go to, in this particular case, I'll show you again, that we'll go to our output and we'll call it load border, which will allow us to pick from one of the names, and that will say this one will be created. I already had mine, but anyway, this will make it blank and nothing part of it. I will then click into a viewport, back to my drawing views, and I will click on Link View. Now here I'm just deciding what I want put in this, and so I'm going to select the plan. I'll click down to the next port, viewport, say Link View, zoom into this and tell this that I want to click an elevation, and zoom into the last one and click, again, whatever you want. But in this case, I am selecting from the section. And you got to make sure you hit it. If you don't, it kills the command. Hit Link View, and I'm going to select the section this time. And that time I got it, and it worked out nice. Click out of my viewports, and there you are. So I'm going to go see what questions we might have. Okay, asked to select a section block or reference, elevation selection. Elevation section. So I don't know what that means, Julie. We'll have to unmute you for you to tell me.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. What that means is when you place that section or that elevation tag inside the cabinet, what you got was an elevation section. So if you need a plan section, you would go to an elevation and section through that, and it would be a plan section through the room.
So if I understand what you're saying, I'm just going to play. I might want to select this, this, and this.
Uh-huh.
And now I might want to go from here to here, pick it, and we'll call that C. And so now I have a section, an elevation section, which is one thing we could never do with microvolt. We will always have to do each one of those. So now I'll dimension this section. And so now the section's been done as well. If this would have had drawers or something in it, depending upon the height where it was cut, that would have made an effect as well. Is that what you were after?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Very good. So your sectioning can be vertical or horizontal. Larry, if I knew that answer, I would have mine set so it would be looking better. I keep playing around with things, and what's setting it for this automation in IMOS, I don't know. I can set it so that I'm changing what I would do manually in AutoCAD, but there's something that we've got to figure out.
The default, he's asking about, can we customize those? Yes, we can.
Yeah. Mark says, my dim text each number is larger than the articles. Yep, I think that you have a metric DWT, which probably means that if you went, and if follow me on the screen, if you went to C:, if you went to program data, if you went to IMOS, and you went to CAD and config, what you would see is that you probably have a file called IMOS_inch. What you needed to do was to rename that file to IMOS.DWT instead of it being IMOS_inch, because it's not reading that one for whatever reasons. Instead of just doing something that overwrites what you had for a DWT, it was sent that way, so it wouldn't automatically do it. But if you'll rename yours, just right-click on it and say rename and make that IMOS.DWT, then that will be the one it's looking to. You will have to shut the program down, start it back up. Actually, you may just be able to say new job for it, and it do that. But anyway, that's what the problem is. And so then you'll have an Imperial DWT file, and that will at least get you closer to where we need to be. Let me see if anybody else has any.
Hey, Sean.
Yeah.
I have an IMOS_inch.DWT in there.
You don't want it to say inch. You want to get rid of the _inch.
I also have an IMOS.DWT.
Right. If you change, delete it, rename it to something else, but the one that's the _inch needs to become the name IMOS.DWT for it to be reading that particular one. I'm sure that the people that Julie went through, she probably made sure that that was done. I had worked with Mark, and I didn't think about that particular change. But if anybody's got super large dimensions and stuff, that would be because you're looking at the wrong DWT file. Frankly, Mark, I didn't need to keep mine. I just did the name and wrote over the other one because I didn't need to keep it. Okay, what else do we need?
Hey Sean.
Yeah.
Sean, this is Bill Waters. When I go to the 2D elevation, I hit 2D elevation, and it's looking where you have your little marker come up. Mine doesn't. I hit elevation view, and it says selection section block reference.
So you're telling me when you hit this command that says 2D elevation view?
Yes.
Mine says the same exact thing.
Okay. And then, so do I select the one elevation in 2D or in 3D?
You select it in 2D from the plan, the 2D plan view.
Okay.
Because that's where you want the reason thinking for that is that's where you want your elevation markers to be is, relative to that 2D drawing.
Okay, so I'm hitting the 2D elevation view.
Yep.
And it says, I get that, and I'm clicking that, the plan view just on any one of the cabinets in that elevation?
Yeah.
Okay, and would it be a left click or a right click?
It's a left click, and then you'll notice that immediately, if you're seeing my screen, then you have this.
Hold on, I only got one screen here, so let me just flip back to you.
So as soon as you left click on it, then you've got this little guy to play with that you can place wherever you want.
That's what's not coming up. That little guy's not coming up.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
Since you were the first one done, we didn't realize that SECSIM was missing. I just need to send you that file, and you put it in your config, and it'll work.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. You'd send out instructions to everybody. Yeah. If you don't have that, we don't have a way to post it in.
Yeah, I do. I'll put a link in the chat window.
Yeah.
But Bill, you're the only one that needs it.
Okay. And what do I do with it, Julie?
Put it in your C program data IMOSv CAD config folder.
Bill, I just pasted that in the screen in case you wanted that to see that again, the path.
Okay.
Does anybody else have that problem? I assume not. Okay, what else?
You're gonna this is being recorded that you'll send out to us, so we can just use it for reference.
Yeah, sure.
That'd be great.
Do we need to go back through this anymore? Anybody trying it on theirs? I know it doesn't seem like there's been a lot done, but there was a lot of development that's occurred since we started with these guys to really get this automated. Keep in mind as well, if we've done this kind of work and now we're back working with our 3D model for some reason, and we wanted to make a change, for example, if I selected on this product, this upper cabinet, I like to select it just because it's on the outside, and I right-click on this, and I wanted to make some change to it, for example, the dimensions. Now I might want to change the width from 19 click. What did I do? Oh, I clicked on a part. I apologize. I thought I had the article selected, but it was trying to change the size of the part, so I just selected on that article dimensions. The width of that was 20, and I want to make that 24 1/4. We hit enter button, and so now you'll notice that it's going to say it affects associated sections, update the sections. You can mark them for update only if you're going to make multiple changes and not do it yet. Or if you're doing it now, it will go through and not only change the 3D, but it's going to affect all of the drawings that were done, so that changing it in one place gets everything cleaned up and finished for us. You do want to watch on the bottom left-hand corner of the update progress, because you can get your system fried if you're throwing too many commands at it when it's going through those kind of processes. Larry, I haven't tested it with replacing a product. I've modified the products by size, numbers of doors, those kind of things, and it works, but I haven't actually replaced it with a different product. I've never seen it take that long. Yeah, so I think in that case, Julie, it would be if we deleted a product and added a new one in its place. I think that adding a product might not give us the same results as modifying one that's already part of it. I'll have to test that. Okay, so that's finally done after that length of time. So if we went to our top view and we went and looked at what we have, it did not update, Julie, the section dimension. That's a new one that we haven't tested before. Oh, wow, no, it didn't update that dimension either. Interesting. Okay, well, they've broken a few things that were working in 10. Okay. I don't know. I think that there was something else going on, because I know that that was working, but that thing took a long, long time, like it was just in a weird mode. So.
Yeah, and the thing is, I just did it earlier, and it was working fine.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever got it to fail. That's why I felt confident doing it.
Yeah, yeah, it works. I think there's something hinky with your system.
Julie, there was a way, and I did it on accident earlier, to where I got the wall on the right-hand side of the section instead of the left-hand side.
Yeah. Okay. So go into model space, and I'll show you what you did. And
so I like being able to show it either way, because one of the problems with Microvellum is that they could only generate the section one way, and people always seem to want to create it the other way.
Right. Okay. So what we've got here, if you'll notice, this section, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
See that little arrow?
Yes.
Okay. Watch what happens when I section something the other direction. And this has everything to do with your command line. And it looks like I'm locked up. There we go. All right. So I'm going to do a section. And I'm waiting for it to catch up with me.
Are you going to do it in your
There we go. All right, I got it. Yeah, just let go of your mouse, Sean.
I'm not even touching it.
All right. It just must be a little on the slow side. So I'm going to choose this article, okay? And then it asks me for my first point for the label, and this is what they're calling the label. First point, second point. And as soon as I get there. Okay, there's my second point. Now the next thing it's asking for is select point on upper side of selection. What that means is, where are you standing? If you want to stand on this side and look to the left, click over here somewhere. And that will give you a reverse section. And go ahead and complete that, Sean, because I'm moving too slow.
Nice. Because it said pick a point on the upper side of selection.
Yeah, the upper side is the side you're on. What side of the line are you standing on? Which direction are you looking?
Okay. That's really nice.
I mean,
we just could not do that in Microvellum. Not with their tools. So if we've got that, we can work from this either way. We'll just do one more to make sure we've got it. We'll say create section. I'm going to select the product. Done selecting products, I'll pick a point from bottom to top or top to bottom, whatever. And
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Select
and which side do you want to stand on?
So now when it says select point on upper side, you decide which side you want to stand on. This time I'm going to do the opposite of what she did. So we'll see that it comes in the opposite way of the one that was just created. And so now you'll see that it's got its back to the one she just did. So that's really easy to do. I want to go over one more time how we get the wall associated with it, just to make sure we've got that. Under the section area, we click on Update Section. We click on the element of the section we want. We don't have to do anything else. It pops up this box on the left, and we click the plus sign, and then in the 3D, not the 2D, in the 3D, we select the wall, and now that will be added to the section. Do you do an elevation section again? Sure. So the only thing that we're doing when we want to do an elevation section, and we'll go to this other elevation just to do it. We'll select on section again, create section. We'll select the products that we want to section, hit enter, and now instead of picking a point below one of these, we're going to pick a point to either the left or the right and decide where we want to cut it. And so we can cut this point wherever. So I'm going to pick from here to here. And the reason I did is I wanted to pick it through the drawer. And now it's the second point on the upper side of selection. So that means which way do you want to be facing? This time it will be top or bottom. I'm going to say I'll be standing above it. So we'll accept F. They really should change that name, Julie. That's not a very good explanation.
I know.
Just knowing
if you notice, yeah, if you notice when you hover over each one of those buttons, they're still in German.
Yeah. So now you'll see that we have a nice section that was created that will see the drawers through it. And I'm telling you, to me, that is a very clean-looking section.
Now, Daryl, that's a plan section. Do you need to see an elevation section as well? Oh, elevation of cabinets. Okay. So he wants to see how you elevate the cabinets again. Okay,
Daryl. So I made a plan down here. So I just, actually, let's just do both of these. Now we have this looking thing. You won't have these arrows yet. You'll click on 2D elevation view, and you'll select a line on either one of the elevations you want. You select it, and then immediately you get this little elevation symbol, and you make sure that it's pointed at the wall that you want. The further in you are, it's going to cut it right at the tip of that. So if you want to see the full face of the cabinet, be back far enough to be able to do that. As a matter of fact, if you went back this far, notice how far back I'm going to go this time. It's actually, and you want to make sure it's pointing the right direction, it's going to recognize, I think, that that's what Julie was trying to get me to do before now,
yep,
but I'm understanding, so that you would see what was happening on the other wall. And so it just takes it a couple of minutes. You just got to be patient. And once it's generated, then you can place it wherever you want. Well, I'm maxing out for some reason. I got too much stuff open, I guess. And so now, if I go and place this, what you'll see is by doing what she told me, by backing that out further, I'm now getting the side. I'm basically getting a section of the cabinet on the other wall, which is, I understand, Julie, that's the way that you would actually draw it in if you were doing drafting?
Yeah, I would.
So, you know, look at the difference between the way that this one looks versus this one, just based on where I place the arrow. I just didn't understand before what you were saying, but anyway, it was a good exercise because if you go inside of the cabinets, you can get an elevation without the fronts. And sometimes in the world of face frame stuff, they may want to go inside of the doors and just see all the face frames, you know, for the openings.
Yep, do it all the time. Not as often as the standard sections, but actually it goes standard section is the most common, plan section is the second most common, and then elevational section is the third most common. But when you need an elevational section, nothing else will do. And Microvellum can't do it. They can, but it can't keep up with the redraw.
That was nice. I learned something. Okay, Daryl, did I get you what you need? Anybody else have anything? I mean, I don't want to hold people for what's boring. I just thought since everybody, I think, is up and running now that we'd make sure that we could use some of the newer features of version 11.
Hey, Sean.
Yeah.
I know Quentin and probably Larry. I know Larry's just dying to see how we customize dimensions. So can I show that to him real quick?
Sure.
All right. So actually, I'm just going to talk you through it if that's all right, because it's too slow for me. Go to Output, and then Dimensioning Principle. And what this is it's kind of like a construction principle. So right now, what the views use is the standard principle. And right now, Sean has it to use the ACAD dim style IMOSv11 leader. Sean, go ahead and change that to layout dim and hit OK. Now the dim style that's going to be used is layout dim, and go ahead and dimension the ones that don't have any dimensions. Not the that's view dimensioning, yeah. Okay, completely different dim styles. And these dim styles are saved in your DWT. So Larry, does that answer your question that you had earlier?
So again, that was for people who want to do it. Output over here to dimensioning parameters, and then selecting from a style.
Well, and you can have custom styles in there. It's just you apply it to whichever principle that you want it to apply to. All right.
Get back to what I had. So you'll see there's the difference in just a couple of clicks.
Okay. Larry F. asks, any update on the official release of 11? That's going to be June 2nd? I don't have my calendar in front of me. I've already talked to them, and I will be probably getting it a few days before that, so we don't have the nightmare that we had with the release this time. I've asked them to release it to me early so I can find any final bugs. So June 2nd is completely dependent on my testing the week before.
And by the way, that will mean WoodCAD CAM 11. So we're running EMOS now as a temporary, just so that we could sell with it or do what we need, because I felt like the drawing stuff was really important, even though we've only got a couple of weeks. I think all of us need to be able to score deals, and so that's the reason we went through these hoops.
Unmuted.
Julie, I have a question for you. In terms of return on investment only from the drafting side of this product, how much faster is your output going to be to achieve it using this product versus not using it, whatever else you have been using it? assuming you're using microvellum.
Right. If you're using microvellum and you're not using their quote-unquote 5D, the 2D drawings, this is going to save you 70%.
70?
If you are using, yeah.
Okay.
So
What if you're just using, what if you've just got a lot of auto, most people just abandon microvellum and they just use raw AutoCAD 2D. What happens there?
Geez. No, that's going to be the same because you would be dimensioning by hand.
So you're going to save,
yeah, maybe 80%. I think that would be reasonable. But if somebody is using 3D or just using straight AutoCAD, yes, it will save you 70 to 80% of your drafting time because half of your drafting time is paper spacing.
Okay, so can you show me why it takes so long in paper space so when I'm talking to people I know what I'm talking about?
Oh boy. Yeah. Sean, give me. All right, let's pretend that we're a microvellum customer and we're not using microvellum 2D commands. So all we've got is this thing. And we're going to assume that a customer has their own title block. So I'll just reuse this one. And pardon if there's an echo. I've got a terrible echo in my ear.
It's Roger. Roger, if you can mute yourself.
Oh, I'll mute myself. I'm sorry.
Oh, you've already linked these. Let me get a new one. Sean, can you give me a new sheet of paper, please?
I can.
Oh, all you gotta do is click on go to Output and go to Title Block or Output.
Oh.
You don't even need to do that. Just go to Output. Anytime you need a new sheet of paper, just go to Output, Load Border, and give me B. All right, whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, here we are. So now that we've drawn everything in 3D and we're ready to go paper space in 3D microvellum. Then you create your viewport and you zoom into your viewport. Let's see. Top view. Whoops. There we go. And I need a toolbar because my little WizGig thing is gone.
I mean, I think, Roger, you basically would put whatever you want into what view, and then you would use AutoCAD's dimensioning tools, dimension horizontal, vertical, whatever, continuous, baseline, and you're going to pick and select each and every dimension that you want to have. And so it's a laborious process, no doubt.
Yeah, so this is the only, we're pretending this is the only thing that we've got. So then we go here, okay, and we got that, and then we have to pick our dim style.
And I might mention that one of the other things are that because it's 3D in this case, I'm not sure if that's what you're wanting to get to, Roger, is that you would never want a plan view to look like this. You would never want this amount of cluttered stuff. So what you end up having to do is make flat shots of that actual 3D, which become dead.
No, actually you don't. Yeah, when I teach people, no, you don't. You're going to actually look at the live 3D.
Okay.
You just hide the lines beyond. So, and then you would come in and you would start your dimensioning. And this is really slow because it's I'm not going to get this exact because I just don't want to zoom in and zoom out and zoom in and zoom out. So I'm going to go from there to there. And there's that dimension. I've chosen the wrong dim style, but it doesn't matter. And then I go continue, and I'll go to there, and I'll go to there. And then, you know, everywhere I want a dimension, I have to plunk it in. So I'll do a new dimension from here to here. And continue that dimension to here, to here. And many times, yes, you find you've chosen the wrong dim style, but we're just going to pretend that's the dim style we wanted.
Okay, so
Okay.
what about?
Okay, you got all that?
I understand that now. What about the sectional views, and are they able to get that, and then they have to redimension them in another viewport? Is that what you're saying?
Microvellum does sections fairly well, and that's about it.
What about elevations?
Elevations are fine. Elevation would be the same principle. You would come in here if you were just doing it in 3D, and you would go to a front view. You zoom into your front view, but at this point, we've got stuff inside of stuff. And in here, I'm going to save your order because this is a memory hog, what I'm about ready to do.
I think the cool thing is that everybody that's just using AutoCAD or those kind of things knows how much time they spend.
Yeah.
The thing that I think is true is that they need to understand that they can make the drawings look just like they like to draw them. That seems to be a bigger deal than anything else.
Right, right. And I could waste a whole bunch of time doing this over the internet, but I will tell you this. I installed IMOSv11 on 4 BGI systems today. And to test it, I had to draw a wall and throw some cabinets on a wall and do all this just to make sure all the new tools were working. The first time I did it, the head of the department giggled for 30 seconds. Giggled. Grown man. Giggled.
You talking about Dave?
Huh?
You talking about
Jim. Jim Klaus.
Okay.
Head of engineering. They just sat there and giggled. I was like, what, is that too difficult for you? And he was like, he was speechless.
Okay. So, Sean, we can sell a lot of just by showing this drafting, you think?
Well, I mean, I think what we're going to show looks very similar to what Microvellum would show for 5D drafting. We got to know the things that make it even better than what they have. And to me, being able to create a plan section is something Microvellum doesn't do. Being able to have an elevation section placed either direction that you want is something that they don't do.
And they don't do auto dimensioning.
And also, yes, they do. And the other thing that you don't have the control with Microvellum's tools are just like if we showed, remember we made the elevation symbol and we put it inside of the cabinet so that it was cutting through. You don't get that in their tools. And when I pulled it back so that it showed the cabinets on the other wall called a return, it doesn't do that. So I think, you know, if we're highlighting things that they don't do well, I think that's you know, that's an advantage. But again, it depends on who we're competing with. If we're not competing with Microvellum, you know, probably those things don't even matter.
I'm just curious because Julie is making the statement that with Microvellum, she could be set 60 to 80% faster. I mean,
she said if you're only using the 3D Microvellum, meaning 6.7, if you're using 7.0, whatever you want to call that piece of crap, nothing else works. But if you're using the 5D drafting, it does all of these things except for it does not do a planned sections of multiple products.
okay.
And it doesn't allow you to automatically deal with the elevation sections where you want those to go. And, you know, just some of those basic things. And you can't control the direction that you want a section to go from. It only draws it one way.
And that's the left side.
Yeah, so if you notice in microvellum, everybody always places that section on the right-hand side of the elevation facing it so it doesn't look wrong, but people don't want it that way a lot of times. They want it on the left-hand side facing.
Okay. So it's becoming a little clearer now. 6-7 is solid modeling
You
only.
can't do back-to-back sections in microvellum at all.
Okay.
But anyway, what we felt like was we couldn't have a deficiency over what microvellum was doing in this arena, and I'm well pleased, especially how clean they look. I mean, if you just see the drawing stuff, especially when you get into the section details, that looks so much better than microvellums. And these guys are super picky.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the hatchings and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if we flip back over for a moment to one of these that we were working on, and you just kind of zoom into one of these ports, look at the walls are already hatched. When you look at the symbols, they're all, you know, they're clean and neat. I mean, if you think about it this way, you do a section in microvellum, and you don't get any section symbols, you don't get any of the stuff. You're having to manually annotate that stuff.
Yeah.
And Sean, I want you to zoom in real close to a section.
Notice the edge
Go to the base section. Go to the base section.
I noticed that it was showing edge banding the other day when you were talking, Sean.
The edge banding, and it also shows the material if you ask it to. It types the material into the oh, your text is white, that's why.
Oh, it tells you the material?
Yes, it does. See that little white band area?
Yeah.
It actually types out what material you're using, the material code.
I've been using this sections for selling the software. I go, you can't find a sexier section than this, and everyone's been agreeing. I use this as a huge selling point.
And it's live.
Oh, it's great.
Wow. Okay.
Good.
Are we done?
I don't have anything on an agenda. I just knew that everybody was just about up and going, and I figured people would be chomping at the bit to figure out how to get this working on theirs. And so hopefully between this and video you can figure it out. If not, give me a call and I'll help you. Anybody else that's still on have any issues with their system we need to work on?
Now, I'm going to jump on with Julie in a little bit just because my symbol's not working. You mentioned something earlier about a DWT file. Is there another DWT file coming that's going to have...
Yeah, we're working on getting a DWT file that will have the proper viewport set up, that will have it orientated correctly, zoomed to the right place, all the settings we can, so at least everybody will be at the best possible place. What I told Julie that I wanted to be able to do was to have this viewport here split, so we'll have two of them, so that we're showing both elevations. And I think that will, since we're drawing two walls now and placing products on both, being able to display both elevations in this sheet set, I think will be a good thing. But we'll get them tweaked out to the best we can, and then it's just a matter of placing it real easy.
I'm going to stop recording now.